2026 was an incredible year for the portfolio and for life. The portfolio grew by $143,000, and that's with one of the highest spending years we've ever had on record. The HODL Factory, my individual stock portfolio, has officially outperformed VU, VT, and Berkshire since its inception of April 2023. And the cherry on the top is I retired from the workforce. When I step back and lay all this out, it really hits how wild this journey has been. I'm really excited to get into this update, so let's do all the normal stuff and then dive in. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Jeff Teeples, and here we aim to grow your wealth with simple, time-tested solutions. If you enjoy videos like this one, do me a huge favor and tap the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and consider joining the channel membership. It helps keep this section short and sweet. You know what time it is. Let's grow. Year-end scorecard. Before we dive into the numbers, I want to start by thanking you for being here. 2025 was an incredible year on YouTube, and this community is stronger than it's ever been. And making these videos is more fun than ever. I genuinely have zero regrets about leaving a high-paying job to build this channel. Helping people move closer to financial freedom is what truly moves the needle for me, and I am grateful that you are here. And I'm excited to keep growing this community in 2026 and beyond. But before we look ahead, let's rewind one last time. It's time to take a final look at the 2025 results. Portfolio overview. Going forward, I'll be sharing a bit more about the HODL Factory in these monthly updates. And for those of you that are new here, the HODL Factory is my portfolio of individual stocks that I co-manage with my best friend Hutch. I recently figured out a clean way to track our lifetime total returns against any ETF directly in M1 Finance. And I've got to say, Hutch and I are looking pretty good just 2.5 years in. More on that coming soon. And before we dive in, a quick reminder, every spreadsheet you'll see in this series is available for free. So save yourself a copy, make it your own, and track your progress if you're interested. Link in the description below. All right, let's jump into the portfolio. We're starting out here in M1 Finance to take a look at the HODL Factory. Normally we start these in E-Trade, but I'm going to start sharing my individual stock performance. And fair warning, it'll be a little longer with all the setup this month. In the coming updates, we'll fly through this when we get a nice clean format. But this all started when the legendary Warren Buffett stepped down at the end of 2025 from running, he's still on the board, but being the head guy at Berkshire Hathaway. Berk.B here is the ticker that I compete with for his fund. And I got researching how his annual performance is, his total returns over the years. And instead of looking at the money weighted stuff with all my cash flows for mine, I really wanted to know how my fund itself, just the allocation per dollar, competes on total returns with a variety of benchmarks. And you can see here I have VT, VU, and Berk.B. Now these returns are all time-weighted returns. And I went through a nerdy process of extracting. You can download your day-by-day time-weighted performance. And I compared it to VU in a spreadsheet, made my own formulas to capture my yearly gains and totals, and then meticulously checked it against the total returns in Seeking Alpha. So I can now track my actual total returns that line up to the real-world total returns of any ticker. And we're about to jump out there, but I just wanted to set the stage. So what I have here is all. Since inception of the HODL Factory, and it says April 14th because it has to have a 0 day and then it moves forward from there, my total return is 81%. It's outperformed VU, which is up 72% in that same duration. I'm recording this on Sunday, January 4th, 2026. So the market's only been open one day this year. And VT was up 62%, and Berk.B, Berkshire, was only up 55%. Now I'm going to pop out to a spreadsheet, but I just wanted to show the data source. And once I got comfortable with the returns matching Seeking Alpha, and I even picked random date ranges just to make sure, I put together something I think you're going to like, and we're going to pop over to that now. I've popped out to the HODL stats, and this spreadsheet's out there for free. Link in the description below. It's spreadsheet number 9 in all my free free spreadsheets. It's in Google Sheets and Excel. This will be updated weekly moving forward if you want to track. And we won't cover anything outside of this tab in a typical video like this, but just for your knowledge, if you pop out to the summary tab here, you can see my exact holdings and all the stuff about them. So you'll know when I add and drop companies, which I only do quarterly, when Hutch and I have our meeting, but everything is out here. Cash flows, you can knock yourself out going through the tabs, but we're gonna live here. You can see I updated this yesterday, which is Saturday, when the market was closed on 1-3. So all these are accurate as of right now. What I have is the key metrics up here, and this is just comparing some high-level metrics that we care about compared to VU, our primary competition. You see we have a better PE ratio, which is nice. These are hypothetical returns because we haven't actually held the holdings for this duration. But just to see that, our yield's higher, and then our dividend growth is absurd compared to the market. But then these time-weighted returns. Now this is the beauty where I could use the total return for Seeking Alpha, and then the formulas I created that matched up perfectly for the HODL Factory. And I had the cross-check with M1 Finance's site. So these are all very accurate, and you can see that we have year-by-year results. So the HODL Factory was number 1 out of the main competition VU, VT, and Berk.B in 2023. It was mid-pack here in 24. It looks like VU beat us, and Berkshire beat us as well. And then we were kind of bottom feeders here. We did outperform Buffett in 2025, but the two leading markets, especially VT, had a little breakout this year, some international flavor at 23% to our 13.38. And Ryan Williams, if you're listening to this, I got you. I watched your video. You were like 11 point something. So let the games begin. We will do this again next year, my friend. You don't even know we're competing, but we are. And then this year to date is literally one day. I had to put it in here. Wow, bad day for Berk B. And we had a good day. So, but then the all, which does include from 4/14/2023, which is all these are, by the way. These won't line up with all of 23. This is just since inception. All the way through 2026, the one day that's happened, we are up 81%. Second place is VU at 72%. We're outperforming VT at 62, and we're outperforming Berk B, which has had a little bit of a dip here in this duration, at 55%. And then down here, I won't read them all, and I won't update this weekly. This will just be updated once per year. We can see how we've done against a whole bunch of tickers. And as you would expect, since inception, it's been very growth heavy, and we just go down the list, but we are officially ahead of all non-growth oriented ETFs, with VU also being ahead of them. You can see we're beating VTI, Berk B. Here's all of our dividend friends, SCHD. Wow, that's embarrassing. We are very happy with our results. Now, back to the normal stuff. Okay, I've popped out to E-Trade, which is where we hold the majority of our assets. I'm going to do something different. I feel like I double dip on E-Trade and Seeking Alpha. So I'm just going to use E-Trade quickly here as a screenshot or it didn't happen type proof that yes, I actually hold these things. This is all brokerage accounts and bank accounts. And then we're going to pop right over to Seeking Alpha and keep this thing moving. But a quick note, SCHD and VGT are both in retirement accounts between Roths and traditionals, and QQQI and BTCI are in the taxable account for those juicy tax-free nearly dividends in the current year. They come in as return of capital. It's just amazing. And then he's working on it. He did open an E-Trade account. My nephew is this one down here, this S&P 500 index fund. So it will not carry over to Seeking Alpha. With that said, let's bounce right over and then get into the nerdy details. Okay, we're out on Seeking Alpha where we pull it all together. And now, of course, it's sort of been our little inside joke that we can't quite pass the 1.7 million mark and stay there between my wife and I lately. And this is our year-end figure officially, because I update every Friday, so it technically has one day of the new year. But my weekly year-end update, and it just stifled me once again. It said, nope, you're 500 shy. You don't deserve 1.7. So you can see here that the portfolio is about, and I say about in quotes, 1.7 million. And wow, just a quick glance, the HODL Factory was up 1.7% on the one day. That's pretty incredible compared to VU's 0.9. But we want to look at our individual ETFs that are mostly housed in E-Trade, which I just showed, except for this guy, and we'll get there. VUG is something different. So with SCHD, our average cost, again, I say this every quarter, is a very high 26.41 because we've moved this stuff around multiple times. We've cashed in a lot more than that over the decade on SCHD. And you can see that comes in at 15,209 shares. I just reinvested the big chunky dividends from SCHD and VGT back into SCHD. So it got us a couple hundred shares, and the value is now $422,000. QQQI, our cash flower, I did my typical reinvestment of 25 shares that I do every month. So we have 5,675 shares now, worth $305. And then the rest I've been replenishing our cash with, and we'll get to that. VGT, we still have those 300 strong shares at that beautiful average cost of $228 a share, and they are worth $227,000. And now BTCI is the last position at E-Trade. It's what I converted my IBIT into, and I explained that in a video, so I won't rehash it here. We have 1,000 shares, and it's coming in at $44,900 exactly. And now VUG, I skipped that on purpose because this is the wife's HSA. This is not an E-Trade, but I consider it my ETFs because I see on a daily basis if ETFs outperform the market VU, and then HODL's the other one I like to see in a snapshot throughout the day on today's gain. And both did beat the market, by the way, on Friday. But here we have 101 shares worth 49,240, and we max this thing out so every paycheck trickles a little more into it. And speaking of that logic, same goes for VU, which is her 401k, and we are up to 873 shares of VU, worth a total, and it's our biggest holding, as we'll see here soon, of $548,000. Now the HODL, I banged on that drum enough this video, but you can see it's here at $33,023. And then our cash and cash equivalents, these are mostly in SGov now over in Chase, JP Morgan. So I don't hold my cash in E-Trade anymore in VMFXX. And that's just for ease of access, frankly. Like VMFXX and SGov return about the same, but I like being able to sell it that day and maneuver it all within Chase Bank. Is up to, and it's getting a little better, 70.3. So with all this context, it's time to pop out to the spreadsheet. Okay, and we're starting out here on the portfolio tab. And one more time, this spreadsheet is out there for free for you to track your journey if you would like. Link in the description below if you want to download and save a copy, if you like the nerdy stuff you're about to see here. But this is just all of the carried over values from Seeking Alpha that I update every Friday. I like punching in the full number and seeing the change. I'm weird. I know I could use shares and make it a little easier, but that's just how I like to do it. But the first meaningful tab we have here is our allocations, because you know I'm a big target allocations guy. So you can see by position, VU is our biggest holding at that 548,000. And I should mention here by asset type, it's our only cornerstone or foundational fund, market fund. So the same 32% over here. And SCHD is our second largest holding. And again, it's the only value fund. I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone here, 25%. QQQI, that 305,000 is our cash flow fund, and it's at 18. Now with growth, you have VGT at 226, and you also have VUG in the HSA. They don't offer VGT at 2.9. So you add those together for growth to get 276 or 16% of the overall portfolio. Cash itself, that's mostly SGov, is at 70,000 and it's 4.1%. Now Bitcoin, BTCI, I don't include in cash flow on purpose. I like to keep it separate because it's a bit riskier than the NASDAQ 100 or S&P 500 type covered call ETFs. So I have it here as just a Bitcoin exposure holding as my category at 2.6, and I'm okay with that. I'll just roll with those 1,000 shares. I reinvest them into just cash or other things I need. And then the HODL Factory is up to 1.9. And I didn't mention earlier, and I probably should have, HODL Factory, those things you saw that I was beating the market on so far, and we're off to a pretty good start in our first 2.5 years, that is YouTube money. So that is made possible by you watching this video. And I'd just like to say thank you once again, because it really is cool to have that opportunity. And then over here on the snapshots tab, every week I just put in a snapshot, and you can see that I highlight any all-time high at the time in green here. And so we haven't had an all-time high since October. We've sniffed it a couple times. And I should note that this also includes our cash and just everything to our name in our portfolio. So when we make purchases, it hurts our bottom dollar. This isn't just investing performance. This is just the whole big picture. And we've spent a lot of money lately, especially on the home gym. But yeah, we're almost right there. We're about 12K shy of the all-time high. It could be worse. But this one right here, I love this chart for zooming out and chilling. And that's just portfolio value by month over time. And I do weekly updates, but this just does the average for each month on the bars. And you can see that 2026, we're on fire, baby. Wait, that could be bad too, right? Well, anyway, we're the red one this year. And so far, the red one's looking pretty good at that almost 7 million. And you can see like 2025 looked nice. The purple bar, actually, we stayed ahead of the green bar. So we've had some fortunate years. In 2022 and 3, things would get dicey a little bit and the bars would go up and down. But just when you zoom it out, we've gone from well below 1 million. And I tracked before this, but I just decided to do this in 2022 because I had full data to, I don't want to say it's sniffing 2 million, but come on. If we have a really good sniffer, we're sniffing 2 milli. And that leads us to the last tab I want to show you, and that's this projections tab. What this tab does is it just assumes an 8% nominal growth, so a couple percent below the 100-year average. Again, not including inflation. I do that separately. And it takes our monthly contributions, which I break down here, and the match is huge, by the way, in both of these. But this is total dollars we get, not necessarily that we have to spend. It includes the companies. And then the M1 Finance, I put in $433 by default. I always hope to do more, but it's $100 a week. So we do that $4,116 monthly. It has the starting amount as our current value. So this updates real time. And you can see the value by years in the future. But the fun part of this one is this retirement calculator. If our goal is 3 million, which it is, I'd be okay with a little less, but 3 million is like comfortable. And that is accounting for inflation and everything. So it'd be like 2 point something of today's dollars. We have tracked this thing for 4 years. Actual tracking has showed a lifetime CAGR, compound annual growth rate, of 16.72%. This is a fact, no estimates. In the 4 years that's been tracked, our real CAGR is this. That includes cash flows and everything, not just investments, remember. If we continue this pace, in 3.7 years, we would hit 3 million. Now, this updates real time though. When the market crashes, this goes down, and naturally the years remaining goes up because the CAGR goes down. So these are all interconnected. Every week we get a nice little update. And right now, we're looking at sometime in 2029 for her to say peace out to her work. Now, on to the part that absolutely blew my mind in December. Dividends received. Okay, I know we intentionally increased cash flow when I retired, but this is bananas. BANANAS. So out on the dividends tab of the portfolio tracker still, the Excel version, you can see that we have all dividends from 23, 24, and 25 selected for all months on our slicers. You can get whatever data you want. That's what's so cool about Excel and pivot tables. But here on 2025, you might notice that one of these looks a little bit exaggerated. But I'm here to tell you, I promise, no funny business. These numbers, they're real. Now, I dropped down on December here because you can see we're at $10,938 compared to just over $6,000 the years before, which is pretty solid. So our SCHD paid us $4,200 compared to about $3,800. Our VGT actually paid us less. I had shaved some VGT when I loaded up on QQQI, which is a growth underlying indexed fund. So I wanted to get a little heavier on SCHD to make up that difference on the overall PE for the portfolio. Probably way too nerdy for people and you probably don't care, but that's a lower position now, but still $227 compared to almost $400. VIGIX, which is VUG. I track it as VUG, so it's real time, but technically this is the asset in the HSA. $50 compared to $46. Okay. And then cash, last year we got $485, and this year you have to add up the HSA and SGov. We definitely have lower cash, and I'm working on getting that thing back up a little bit to at least 5%. And then VU gave us a nice little jump here to $1,541 versus the $1,300. So far, nothing wild. HSAs, we talked that. Here you go. $3,600 of QQQI that didn't exist last year, and nearly $1,000 of the Bitcoin covered call ETF that didn't exist last year. So there's your difference maker. year. And I will say the HODL was also up to 58.58 from 31.60. So that's really encouraging to see as well. But it's exciting because we now have a full year and no more hearing my estimates on this stuff. We actually shattered my estimates because of all the changes we made when I officially retired. We ended the year with just over $53,000 of dividend income compared to 35.3 last year and 21.6 the year before. Clearly I was accumulation from 2010 basically to here was accumulation. Started to dabble in income a little when quitting my $170,000 a year job to start this YouTube channel, frankly, here. And now I'm just a little bit all in with the income creation while still retaining a nice portfolio value. But yeah, cheers, 53 grand, guys. Just under $11,000 in a single month. Absolutely wild. All right, composure regained. Let's finish this video. 2026 and beyond. As we head into 2026, I am genuinely excited. Not just because I'm chasing bigger numbers, but everything in life just feels aligned. Investing is still a huge part of my life, but so is health. Building a new home gym, getting stronger, and showing up with more energy has had a bigger impact on my happiness than I expected. That balance of building wealth while enjoying life is exactly what I want this channel to represent moving forward. On the investing side, the plan stays simple. Stick to the systems, keep compounding, and continue growing the HODL Factory in the same disciplined way we always have. And none of this happens without the people that support this channel. A huge shout out to all of you channel members. We didn't have any new members once again this week, but all 31 of you have hung around and your support makes a huge difference, I can assure you. You really do have an impact on making these videos viable, both financially and just from an inspirational standpoint. You're keeping me motivated, and you're simply the best. And a real quick shout out to the pinned comment with my two favorite investing tools, Snowball Analytics and Seeking Alpha. You could probably throw M1 Finance in there as well. In fact, maybe I will moving forward. I love the platform for running the HODL Factory and just building wealth on autopilot. So if you're interested in trying any of those three for free, link in the description below. Sometimes there's goodies, you'll save money, and you'll support the channel. And also, check out one of these two videos to continue down your path towards financial freedom. Remember, money is overrated. Freedom is not. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in all of the next ones. Deuces!